Let's go out to Ryan in Gainesville, Florida. What's up, Ryan?
Dr. Delony, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Thank you for calling in. What up?
I'm having some guilt. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing as far as my situation goes.
Okay, hold on. Before you tell me, I tend to believe that guilt. Well, no. Okay, I'm not gonna interrupt you. Go ahead. I've just been wrestling with something just philosophical, but this isn't the time or place for my stuff. So go ahead. You go with you. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I'm a chronic overthinker. I have anxiety, depression, and I just got out of a physically abusive marriage, actually, and second marriage, and divorced 2.5 months ago. And I've met another female, and I'm just struggling. I don't know if I should let this develop or not, if I'm ready for that, or if it's the right thing to do in the first place. I do have 2 kids with my first marriage.
Okay. How long was your second marriage?
9 months. Yeah.
What? Well, you just said, yeah, you judged that length of time. I didn't. What happened, man?
She started getting physically abusive with me, which she knew. I've been in one other relationship where that has been a problem, and she knew all about that. I would never resort to that, and that it got pretty bad, and that's when I knew, regardless of the length of time. And I don't believe in. I'm a Christian. I don't believe in divorce. I'm not. Believe it or not, I'm not the one who actually chose to get divorced. I chose to get separated because of the physical abuse, and it happened in front of my son one time. So I approached her about getting separating from her, and then her response was, "Well, I don't believe in separation. It's either we divorce or, you know."
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like you're married to someone who was struggling with a lot, pretty immature, and what is it about you that draws you to volatile, abusive women?
That's a question I'm struggling to answer myself, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Do you like to help? Are you just a pretty stable, secure guy? You said you're anxious, that you struggle with some anxiousness, and so that almost is like fire and fire coming together, right?
I've always been an agreeable person. I don't like conflict. I am stable. I do, I have 3 jobs. I've worked. I've done a lot of things to better myself during that. I was with my recent ex-wife 3 years, by the way. So it was a 9-month marriage, but we were together for 3 years, and I worked on a lot. She pointed out a lot of things I needed to.
I bet she,
just saying it. I hear it out loud.
I bet she let you know loud and clear what you screwed up on and you needed to fix, right?
And I did. I made a lot of effort to change, and I'm thankful for it because I did better myself. But at the same time, all I asked for from her was to be loved. I never asked her. I didn't want to change. I don't want anything other than, obviously her temper, but I didn't ask her to change anything, but I accepted her challenge to change myself, and I changed a lot of things. I did. But once she started becoming physical, I knew right then and there that I had to get away.
Yeah. So maybe that's an unfair question just to lob on my part. But I think it's something worth considering. And if you go back and look at some of the previous relationships you've been in where people were violent with you, and my guess is the other ones where they weren't violent, there was some volatility there. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There was some ups and downs and some whoa and some yikes. And so I think an important thing to do would be to write down 4 or 5 or 10 things that were common across those relationships. How'd you feel? What did they say? What did when there was a disagreement? How was there some commonality there? Because that's going to help be your compass for no matter how good it feels, how attracted you are to somebody, how funny she is, or how alive she makes you feel. That's going to be a good roadmap for, hey, I've been down this road before. It's at least enough to get you to ask some questions, right?
Right.
And so when it comes to, I get this question a lot. How long after I'm divorced should I start dating? How long should I don't have a, you need to wait 6 months or 4. I don't have a thing. Because a lot of marriages were done 5 years before they actually get divorced. They were over for a long time. In some marriages, like yours, like, hey, I just want to take a separation for 30 days. And she's like, well, fine, I file on you. And it's just over, right? And so some of that is some smoke clearing. I think my general wisdom is, if you can't talk about your previous relationship without your heartbeat taken off on you, you're probably not ready. If you can't walk through, here's what happened, here's where it was so good, and here's where it wasn't so good, and here's where we are now. If you can't do that, you're probably not ready to start dating. And I'll go one step further. I think we get obsessive about finding the next forever person. You have permission just to go have friends, man. Go hang out. You don't have to end up sleeping with everybody. You don't have to end up in a romantic relationship with everybody. You can't just go have fun, hang out. You know what I mean? Like it's hard once you're married. It seems like, all right, now we're back into you either go like, I'm gonna go play the field, bro. That's dumb. Or, all right, I got to find the next. I mean, there's some middle ground there. See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I feel like my faith has allowed me to change my viewpoint as far as what you just mentioned. That's how I always approached dating, that trap I put myself into. But this time, after this second divorce, I really prayed about it. I've sought counsel from my church, and they've said exactly what you just said. Just focus on myself and just let God show me the way. And
well, but some of that language is kind of, you got to be careful about that, right? Because it's like he's just gonna put the person in front. I mean, you got to go out, right? I know people who are still just sitting at home waiting. Like, nope, I've been praying, and God's just gonna send them out. And it's like, well, dude, you got to leave your house, right? So it's both and. It's both and. See what I'm saying?
Right. Gotcha.
But I don't think that means, I'm not going to tell you if you've met somebody that's kind and great and just seems like a good human being to be around. I'm not going to say like, no, you cut that person off. That would be dumb on my part. I also think you're 0 for 2 on marriages, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and my guess is you had some volatile dating relationships before those marriages or in between them. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
So maybe before I get back in the batter's box, I am going to get with a hitting instructor and figure out what I'm doing wrong with my swing.
That makes a lot of sense.
And when you're when you do it that way, you're not worried about what the pitcher's throwing. You're worried about your swing mechanics. And I think
I'm a sports writer, so you're talking right to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're not worried about what the pitcher's going to throw. I'm worried about how my stance is and how my feet are and how my hips turn and how my, all that stuff, how my wrist turn over. So all that to say is I would get somebody just to walk through with you, and a good counselor can do that for you. They can walk back in time with you. Also, a couple of wise men that are 10 or 15 years older than you that would just agree to have coffee with you once a week or once a month. That could be amazing. And you could say, hey, I've had this with women. I clearly am not good at dating or being married. Can y'all help? And dudes love giving advice to each other, right?
Right.
But I think having some wisdom there from some people who have been there, maybe talk to some folks who have been divorced before and are in marriage number 2 or are dating, who have got some wisdom on you that can walk you through and say, hey, here's been my experience. Here's some pitfalls that I fell into. Here's some mistakes I made. Here's some things that I wish I'd done again. And that can just be some great, great wisdom. But I think you need to get to the root of, why do I think so little about Ryan that I keep ending up in these relationships where I am used as the soil for somebody else to grow? Why am I always the gasoline for somebody else's engine? Because you've got more value in relationships than that, man. You're worth more to those relationships than you just making sure that the other person can chew you up and spit you out. And I'll even go one step further. Volatility in a relationship actually is kind of fun. Like fighting, making up, hooking up, like all it's fun. Like there's some energy in there. There's the words I hear are alive. People say like, I felt alive. I felt alive. And that's cool. But I'll tell you, you know what also is cool? Warmth, laughter, water fights, being silly. And I have found as I've gotten older that seeking aliveness inside of the comfort instead of trying to squeeze comfort out of chaos has been a much more sustainable path for relationships. And so I tell you, you know volatility. You know bonkers, you know yelling and screaming, you know punching and kicking. I want you to practice peace. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life. I'm going to send you a copy of the book about this very thing. And it may be brand new to you, man. And I'm going to challenge you to get with somebody and y'all work through these steps. How do I create this life? I map it out for you in the book. How do I create a non-anxious life? And when I do that, I'm going to create some boundaries that then these new relationships, I'm just not going to cross. It's not going to cross. I'm going to begin to see chaos coming. I'm going to begin to feel my body because it starts gearing up when things get chaotic and volatile. It knows it's coming. And I'm going to just choose to say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. I'm good. I want to give my kids, I want to give myself, I want to give my future patience, kindness, and peace and laughter. Just a much better way to live.